Hey there, it's me, Benz from Powerline, and today I'm doing something that isn't normally found on Powerline, a video essay. And today we'll be discussing the topic of Nights into Dreams and why it sucks. I would also like to give it up to this commenter for posting about how I just don't get old games, among other things. You were the one to inspire this video, but you are not who this video is for. And don't bother looking for the comment, it's already been deleted so he doesn't get any praise or hate because of me. I don't want that to happen. Okay, so saying Nights into Dreams sucks might be a little too strong for what it is. But before we start, I just wanted to say I was born in 1995, I'm currently 24 years old, and I have a great love for the history of video games and games in general. And before those over 30 come crawling out of the woodwork to tell me how wrong I am, and how good the Sega Saturn was, and specifically Nights into Dreams, when I was young, I had access to 3 major consoles, including the PlayStation 1, N64, and the Sega Genesis. I've played and enjoyed many old games, including Quake, Quarantine, the Space Quest and King Quest games, Arkanoid, and all the old arcade classics. If that's not good enough to prove that I'm not just looking through the lens of the future and that I just can't appreciate old games because I'm young, well, then I don't know what to tell you. If you'd like to see my first impressions with Dreams into Nights, you can watch that on Powerline. And there should be an iCard that just popped up in the top right of this video, and there will be a link in the description. Or there should be. Anyways, enough with the lamp shading and credentials. Let's get to why we're all here. Why do I say that Nights into Dreams is a bad game? Well, the question becomes, what makes a good game? And there are several things that can go into a game to make it fun and push the player through to the end. Let's make a list. First off, we have the story. A good story can pull a player through to the end of the game despite everything else. Look at games like Heavy Rain, Until Dawn, Detroit Become Human, or Man of Medan. All of these games don't feature much gameplay other than quick-time event scenes and decision-making, but still they are widely regarded as good games due to the story being intriguing enough to pull the player all the way through to the end of the game. Getting a player invested in the story of a game can change the way they view the game overall. Then we have characters. This one may seem redundant, however, characters aren't the same as the plot of a story. For example, the Half-Life series doesn't have much in the way of characterizing Gordon Freeman, never mind that he was once voted for Best Character in Gaming in 2008, but people really like the plot of Half-Life, and gameplay as well. Or Link from Legend of Zelda series. He doesn't do much, and I mean, he can have a personality sometimes, but the player isn't there to get to know Link. Good characters in games may be Amicia from A Plague's Tale, or Edward Kenway from Assassin's Creed IV, Black Flag. These characters have depth, personality, and most players just want to see them succeed in their goal. Even if the story isn't the best or has become so convoluted that the player can no longer keep up with all the lore. But that's a video for another day. I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed. Then we have music and sound design. The music and sound direction of a game can really give the game the oomph it needs to be fun. Games like Hotline Miami, Undertale, and Doom all have amazing soundtracks and clever scores that really bring the game together in a way that most people don't realize or expect. However, some more unpolished sound cues, such as in the later Assassin's Creed games, can detract from the experience. Like when you hit someone with a sword and you hear the sound effect for slashing someone a second later. A good sound effect would be something like the shotgun from Doom 2016. When beta testing the game, many of the testers said that the double-barrel shotgun wasn't nearly powerful enough. So the director asked the sound guys to up the volume of the shotgun and made the kickback more noticeable. And after that, the testers claimed that the shotgun was the best weapon in the game. He made no changes to the damage the shotgun did. He just made it feel better to shoot. You might compare this to the Wolfenstein The New Order game released in 2014 for a reference on non-powerful guns. These guns don't have the oomph they need to feel powerful, and most of that comes from sound direction. Sure, enemies go down in just 2 to 3 hits and they fly backwards when you shoot them in the head, however, it doesn't feel anything like firing a real gun. And finally, we have gameplay, arguably the most important part of a game, but this category covers a lot of ground and needs to be split into several different categories. So we have A, controls, and that just means how easy it is to control the character. Level design, are the levels laid out in a manner that benefits from what the player has to work with? Movement, is the movement fun and engaging? Difficulty, does the game have a steady difficulty curve? Understanding of goals, does the player know how to move on past their current location? and gameplay loops. We won't be getting into gameplay loops in this video. And finally, graphics. Graphics. Alright. Actually, let's take care of the graphics briefly. The footage we're watching is the PlayStation 4 remake, so we get to watch the thrice remade version of the game. Personally, I don't think that the graphics matters in games, but if you smear some kind of tint over a game like COD or Deus Ex does, then I'm gonna comment on it. You can have amazing graphics and have a terrible time, or have really bad graphics and have a great time. They don't make the overall experience. Frankly, I like the new graphics to this game. You can tell that they put a lot of effort into remaking this. But let's take a look at what it used to look like. Oh yeah! Those are the kind of polygons I like to see. Don't you miss the days when everything was just made out of triangles? And that's pretty much all I have to say on the graphics. Well, let's start the game. When we first start up the game, we are treated to an intro cinematic of the character Knights flying through the clouds, making funny faces, and showing off the capabilities of the Sega Saturn. It makes for a nice intro sequence, but it doesn't really tell us about the story of the game that much. That's fine, it's just a way to show off the new graphics and lets us see the character of Knights in action. And that's pretty standard for games, especially at the time. And here's the title screen! Now let's pretend that we're a 10-year-old boy who just got this game for his birthday, or Christmas, or finally got our mom to spend the money on this game after so much begging for it. Are we going to open up the game and read the manual? Or are we going to wait on this title screen? Or how about explore the extras? No! We just want to get into the game, so let's start a new dream. Now, I'm going to be the girl just to start out with, just because I don't care and she's the first one that pops up on my screen when I open this menu. So let's go! Alright, it looks like I can walk around and... Hey! Some things just attacked me and made a giant octopus thing? Well, I don't have a health bar, it looks like, and there's an arrow heading over to that jester guy over there. I guess I'll walk towards him? Okay, it looks like I've become the jester, and I can fly now? Looks like I can only go left, right, up, and down, though. Weird. Well, let's collect some of these ball things and go explore the level. After a bit, I run into that giant octopus thing from earlier, and I guess I heard it? Okay, well, I guess I'll keep going. I collect a few more balls, some stars, run into the thing again, and it explodes, I guess? Oh, and look, I have a white sparkle thing following me now. Neat! So, we make it back to the gazebo thing, and... Well, what gives me these scores? I haven't had any instruction yet, but I guess that's fine, whatever. I mean, I'm progressing, right? Well, it lets us go again, and it's more or less the same thing. Collect orbs and destroy the next octopus. It's on a different route, so at least it's not the same thing happening over and over again, but I'm so confused. Why am I this jester guy? Who is this jester guy? What happened to the girl? What is going on? Well, it doesn't matter, because I destroy the rest of these octopus things and I head to the boss level, where we are greeted by a giant flying snake dragon thing. Maybe I'm just into today's tropes, but I thought I was supposed to attack the tail. Nope, that hurts me and earns me a -5, whatever that means. So I try running into his face. Nope, that gets me a -5 also. Well, I haven't noticed the buttons doing anything. Maybe I have some kind of attack? Well, I have this spin move I've been using, but I doubt that will... Oh, okay! So, I'm supposed to launch myself at his face using the spin move I assumed was just to speed me up like I'm a ballistic missile. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Whatever, so I beat the boss and I earn myself a D for my effort. Well, the next level is unlocked, so sure, I guess we'll just move on. Alright, level 2. Yeah, it's just more of the same. This level looks kinda cool, I guess. It's obviously darker than the last one, so I guess we're getting deeper into the nightmare? Yeah, let's go with that. That makes as much sense as any of the story I've been given so far. Speaking of the story, well, the game hasn't really given me much to go on. But remember, this game was made in the 90s. And even though some developers had started to catch on and actually put the story in the game, the 90s were kind of a mixed bag. So let's look at the manual and see if it has anything on the story. Yeah, it looks like it does, as well as a BIOS for all the characters in the story as well. Ah, here we go, cast introduction. Elliot. Elliot is playing basketball with his classmates. Some of the older kids from school show up and challenge Elliot and his friends to a game. A teammate passes along to Elliot, who's just a few feet from the net, but the star player on the other team steals the ball. A long pass down the court, and a slam dunk finishes the day. Elliot walks back home, alone. Don't feel bad, kid. They were bigger, older, and better than you. It's only natural that they're going to try and put you in your place. It's not like they beat you up or even called you names. I think Elliot might just be a sore loser. I think I might have made the right choice here, guys. Let's move on to the character we're playing as, Clarice. Today is Clarice's chance to show her family she has stage talent. Stage light flares on, and her heart starts racing. The directors are out there, watching. Clarice approaches the microphone, but something's not right. A small voice inside her tells her that everyone will laugh. A few seconds pass, and the voice grows louder. No longer able to bear it, Clarice runs off the stage. Now, I can relate to this one, at least somewhat. Stage fright is a real thing, and it can cripple you if you're not prepared for it.
But wait a minute, shouldn't the game have given me anything that would indicate what was happening in our characters' lives? Well, actually it does. You just need to sit on the title screen long enough for a cutscene to play.
Which one you get is random, but it actually shows each of the kids' problems. And just like I thought, Elliot's is kinda lame. But Clarice's cutscene is pretty good, outside of her singing.
But why not just put these cutscenes in after the first time you select the character? It baffles me. You can find these cutscenes in the extra menu stuff, but overall, there is just no excuse for this. It's not that hard.
All I'm asking for is maybe a text box that can tell me what is going on when I get into the actual part of the game.
Mario 64 pulled it off. Even the original Legend of Zelda had text to point you in some direction, and that came out 10 years earlier.
There's really no reason or excuse that I will accept for this. There's also the character of NiGHTS, but all it says is that he escaped from Nightopia and no one knows if he's good or bad. Weird, considering the kids seem happy to just team up with them. And look, we have a section for the story. To save us a lot of reading, basically some guy named Wise Man the Wicked, you heard me correctly, is gaining power and is capturing dream energy from humans. So Knight, the character, runs away to enlist the help of children to reclaim their ideals that have been stolen by Wise Man. Purity, wisdom, hope, and intelligence, but not bravery, because he can't touch that one for some reason. And I promise I didn't skip over anything important. I'll leave a link in the description if you don't believe me. Whoo, boy. Where to begin? I don't even know, guys. This story is obviously made for kids, but at the same time, it has less effort put into it than most children's stories on TV these days. Don't get me wrong, the concept is fine, but it doesn't really grab me like some others do. Look at the manual for Legend of Zelda. It begins with, "A long time ago, the world was in an age of chaos." Now that gets me hyped up to play. I'll grant you that they could have made this easier to read, but I'm trying to look at the substance.
All this talk of Wise Man and Nightopia just sounds really corny, and like whoever came up with the idea for this game really didn't care.
I mean, I've been there. It's been 3 a.m., you've had 2 weeks to write a simple story for why these characters are here, and at this point you just need to get it done and turn it in the next morning to your boss. So you come up with literally the first thing that comes to mind and send it in. The boss barely glances at it and sends it on its way. So obviously I'm not getting anywhere with the story, so back to the game. We finish up level 2 and I pass with a C this time. The next boss is a fish monster. You have to attach yourself to these fish things and shoot yourself at him. This boss is actually kind of hard, because you have to be on the same level as him, and when you shoot across, most of the time you miss because he's slightly off to the side, and I swear he teleports. He has a couple other tricks too. He'll shoot these little pink balls that, I don't know, infect the fish. You can't use them for a small amount of time or you get the dreaded -5 symbol. But on top of that, every once in a while when you shoot at him, he will randomly decide, nope, not good enough, and you get hurt again. I can't find a pattern to this. It happens seemingly at random. Okay, I've hit him a few times, so I have to be getting close to the end at this point, but the timer is getting really low. I think I just need one more. No, 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 God, Well, I got an F. Now what? Okay, it looks like I'm back at the level select. Cool. Well, I'll spare you guys and just fast forward through this. Okay, so we beat the boss and get a C rank this time. Okay, cool. On to the next stage. By the way, I'm not cutting out anything important. After you beat the boss, it just dumps you back to the level select screen. So yeah, the story isn't going anywhere, guys. The next stage is not what I expected. I was expecting something a little bit darker than before to symbolize the kid's descent into the nightmare, but no, this is a stage built entirely out of a bouncy castle. The ground indents around our feet as we walk, and you can bounce right off the ceiling. I'm not sure what's happening here. And we have a funhouse mirror where knights can't be seen in the mirrors, but there are these rings on the other side that we can fly through. I think this game might have a tonal problem as well. I'm not exactly feeling the escalation in difficulty or tone in this game. There's one more thing I need to talk about in this level. There's a bit where you get launched out of a cannon and the camera goes behind Knights and you actually control him left, right, up, and down. Kind of like how I expected to play this game going in.
The only problem with it is how god dang slow Knights is moving side to side. I'm not slightly tilting the analog stick. That's just how fast he moves.
I got unnecessarily angry at how slow he moves on this part. It's pretty obnoxious. Oh, cut away, cut away. Let's talk about, the music, yeah. There we go. To be honest, I like the music in this game. For the most part, it matches the atmosphere of the level, and it bumps. Even when it's dark, it sounds crazy, and I mean like really crazy. Like in your dream and nothing really makes sense, but at the same time it makes just enough sense to work. This isn't one of my favorite soundtracks, but I could listen to this while I'm doing chores or at work or something, and I will never turn down the song She Had Long Ears. It starts out with this opera singer, and then it just works as it goes on.
I also love how you have to beat a fat bouncing balloon lady into submission to the tune of this song.
Okay, I might be getting a little ahead of myself here, but I need to talk about the credits theme.
I have a little surprise later on about this theme, but for now, I just have to say I'm not into these small children singing out of tune. Just not about it, sorry.
Let's get back into the game for a hot minute. I beat the stage, and this boss was weird. He's hard to catch up to, and when you do, he fights like Gambit and throws cards at you, so getting close can get really difficult.
And once you do, his main body, which I later found out was his cape, falls off and then he comes to retrieve it.
The problem the first time was that I couldn't get close enough in the time limit. And by the time I figured out his weakness, oops, too late, time's up, and I gotta play it all over again. Yay! Well, after a quick fast forward, back to the boss. I beat him, and we're on to stage 4. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is gloomy, the music is fitting, it's exactly what I would expect for the final level. Like I'm in the middle of some nightmare. So this time we're pushed back from Knights and put on a tiny little island. Without hesitation, I follow the arrow like a blind man and leap off the edge of the world. Yeah, maybe not the best idea. But hey, it worked! And now I'm Claris, flying through the sky, collecting my Orby things. The rest of these levels haven't been that hard, but this one... My god, this one is hard. You have 3 minutes to complete the entire level. So I run out of time, I run out of time, and I run out of time. This happens 5 times before I finally make it to the end with literally 1 second remaining. Elliot shows up for some reason, and we make it past the barrier to rescue Knights. Okay, before we get into the final boss, let's talk about the difficulty curve of this game. I was able to get through the first 3 levels no problem, with running out of time a total of 2 times outside of bosses, and once on almost every single boss. You need to go into boss fights not expecting to win, but just get out with information on how to hurt them the first time. Then you die, do the whole level over again, and armed with the knowledge on how to actually beat the boss, you can breeze through them. So overall, it's not crazy hard. And then there's this level. Level 4 is 10 times more difficult than anything that has come before it, because you need to be really fast and accurate with your flying, and let me tell you, these controls are made for more approximations of movement, not accuracy. This graph shows what I think the difficulty curve for this game is. The graph shows the difficulty curve for each stage, where a 1 is really easy and 10 is getting over it with Bennett Foddy. That's a pretty sharp difficulty spike, right? Again, not exactly something I missed from the 90s. Alright, let's get into the final boss. It's time to face Wise Man. He, looks different from what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting Wily or Eggman, but if I'm honest, I'm way more into this. I mean, this is a dream, right? So why not have the final boss be crazy? If anything, I'm a little disappointed that he still looks human, if that makes sense. But hey, it's something. He has a couple stages, and frankly, I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing to fight him. I get close and there's a barrier, nothing is really happening, so I just keep mashing the spin dash move, but it doesn't seem to be getting through. So I see if I'm supposed to go back around the other way, and that doesn't seem to be working either. And I keep getting hit by these fireballs and losing time. Apparently that's what the -5 symbol means. And this is the point where I realize that I can hold down the spin move instead of just mashing it. Well, we made it through the barrier and hit him, but it looks like he has more than a couple stages, and I have only about 60 seconds left to get through the rest of it. I might be able to do it. Well, his second stage are these floating purple rocks. Not too bad, they're pretty easy to dodge. Ouch. Then snowballs. Oh geez, 10 seconds. I don't think I'm gonna make it, guys. Oh god, no. God dang it. Crap. We know the drill by now. I'll just fast forward through this. You don't need to suffer. And we're back to the tornado part. It's like one tornado, and it isn't hard to dodge. Boom! Got him! Suck on that, Wise Man. Screw you. So, here's the end of Claris's part of the game. She starts getting some stage fright right before she goes up, but she breathes through it and freaking kills it. Or at least I assume she does. I don't know that I would bring her on with this performance, although the ability to sing both backup and lead vocals at the same time could be invaluable. In any case, the director, producer, and writer seem to love her, so I guess she gets the part. Good for her. This is more than I expected for an ending. Most 90s games have a game complete sign and then dump you back to the title screen. But this wasn't made for the computer, I guess. Anyways, that's the game. But wait, there's still Elliot's run. I mean, this is a Team Sonic game, so generally there's something that you can unlock if you complete everything, right? I'll just give you guys a quick rundown of each of the levels. So we start on Elliot's first stage, and it's almost the same as Claris's first. But we have a top-down bit, a water area, we are pushed along by currents, and yes, the controls haven't gotten much better. The boss for this area is probably my favorite. This is the fat lady we talked about earlier, and it took me a bit to understand, but you need to grab onto her and push her from room to room until you push her into the end box. I died once on this stage trying to figure out the mechanics of pushing her. No, don't go backwards, you dumb... Okay, grab on. Okay, how do I go around? Maybe just... Alright, there you go. No, not up. God dang it. Oh my god. So the controls are a little sticky. You press A, and then it's when you release A that NiGHTS actually kicks her. Alright, go through the hole. Oh god, dang it. Oh god. Okay, I don't have much time left, but that's okay. 30 seconds is more than enough if I can do this quickly. Go on. Go through the hole. Alright, here you go. Yeah, there you go. Keep on going. Alright, now it looks like I have to get her straight through the middle. Alright, I broke it. That's alright. That's alright. Okay, I only have 17 seconds. Alright. Okay, just get through the hole. Come on. Come on. It's got to be on the other side of this hole, right? Oh god, there's another breakable part. Alright, we got this. Boom, there we go. It's unlocked. We just need to... And there. No! Oh my god, why didn't she go through that? 3 seconds? No, come on! Come on! Come on! No, god damn it! Alright. Well... You know what happens next. I eventually got a C on this one. Night 2 is an ice level. We've got snowballs, railway tracks, and we go bobsledding. Also, I want to point out that Elliot is riding NiGHTS, who is the bobsled. Very weird. This boss was kind of ridiculous. It's another one of those that try to stay as far away as possible, like the card guy from before. I noticed these little mouse rocket things, so I started attacking them. Meanwhile, he keeps shooting them at me and making me lose time. Eventually, I try to just rush him and get hit by one of those little mouse rockets. My timer goes down from 8 seconds to 2, but I'm right above him and I charge in for the kill at the last possible second. Got him! I got a D for the whole stage, but I don't really care at this point. I should mention that any Ds I got back in Claris's run, I went back and got Cs because I felt like I needed to, but in this case I just moved on. This will be more important here in a minute, but before we move on to night 3, let's talk about the controls for a second. The controls of this game aren't terribly complicated, and I don't really have a problem with them overall. You use the analog stick to move, X to circle or spin dash, and the bumpers to do quick turnarounds. It's pretty simple, but what I do have a problem with is the lack of information again. I don't mind the heavy-handed approach of telling the player exactly what buttons to press, like in Sly Cooper.
To landeth safely upon diminutive points, leapeth lively and presseth the triggering device with the round geometrical object emblazoned upon it.
So jump and hit the circle button to land on narrow spots.
That's a rough translation.
It breaks the immersion a bit, but at least I know how to play. And I can also get behind the way Mega Man X and Hellblade teach the player. In Mega Man, it gives you a window to figure out how to play the game with small trials to teach the player how the game works, like jumping over things and shooting.
In Hellblade, the game doesn't tell you how to fight at all, and you just have to muddle along and figure it out yourself, but that was the theme of the game. Not only that, but it gives you time to figure out how to hit before the monster even comes near you. It's a bit of trial by fire, but again, that's kind of the point of the game.
It's just a memory. Truth? Is that you?
God, I just want to do an analysis on Hellblade. Anyway, in Nights into Dreams, you are thrust into this world and immediately there is a timer potentially counting down to your demise. You don't know, so the player has no chance to explore the controls and get used to them. Not to mention that the game just gives you one of these if you want to find out what the buttons do. I've seen much worse than this since the layout is pretty simple, but I never, ever want to see these in a game. Maybe a manual, maybe either give the player a tutorial or give them time to practice. Don't put a freaking timer up the second they start playing. Sorry. I'm getting a little heated about this. Let's just get back to the game. All right, night 3, here we go. Okay, this one is called Stick Canyon, and I'm not entirely sure why. This place is weird. It introduces a lot of mechanics that you don't really see anywhere else. We have magnets that will push or pull you in certain directions, an entirely vertical area, a machine that causes items to stick to you like you're in Katamari Damacy, and a fly swatter roller coaster. There's even this one part where it makes you go online and subscribe to Powerline for videos every weekday for some reason. I really like that part, actually. Fun story about that fly swatter roller coaster, though. I actually ran out of time in the middle of one of these roller coasters and ended up losing Knights about halfway through it. See, there he goes. Bye, Knights. So I'm riding the roller coaster and Elliot gets slammed directly into another one. And while we're on this coaster, I just wanted to say that while it looks cool, I'm not actually doing anything. I have little to no control in this section, and you can get almost everything by just not moving. It's a lot like this scene from Sonic Adventure DX, so I'm gonna have to give this part a not fun stamp. Anyway, Elliot comes crashing down and loses all of his marble things. I gather up most of them and take them back to the Knight's Cage and get a B? I was under the impression that if you ran out of time, it was an automatic F, but apparently not. Anyway, let's move on to the boss. I attempted the tried and true technique of twirling at him, but that didn't seem to have any effect. And then by total accident, I created a loop near him and figured out that that's the way to beat him. I don't actually see him get hit, but I can hear it and see him reset, so I guess that's how I do it then. And I've got less than a minute on the clock, which has been my downfall before, but I managed to make 2 more loops around him and get myself a C on the stage overall. Alright, let's get on to night 4. But what's this? I can't seem to access the final stage. Well, the only thing different this time is that I got a D on stage 2. I guess that's why they have little circles and X's behind them. So I do the whole stage again, earn myself a C this time, and we're finally off to do the last stage. It's exactly the same stage as Claris's, and I mean exactly the same. There is no change whatsoever. I was hoping for at least a little more variety, maybe just lay it out slightly differently, I don't know. Well, since we've already seen it, I can skip past it. The final boss is exactly the same too, if you're wondering. Alright, so we defeat Wise Man and get Elliot's final cutscene. He finds Clarice and puts her to rest under a tree and then fades away. I'll be honest, I don't get it. But wait, there's more. You remember Elliot's backstory, right? He got beat by some older kids at basketball and is a sore loser? Well, the solution to that is to challenge them again and win this time. First of all, this kid right here is the real MVP. I can't imagine that a behind-the-back pass while being guarded is easy when you're younger than 10 years old. Amazing assist by him. Then Elliot runs up, leaps over a kid, probably 4 or 5 feet in the air, and then leaps over another kid and probably a quarter of the court and dunks the ball. Either he can give Mario a run for his money or we're still in the dream world. Anyway, the other kids like him now and he's great. But this is Team Sonic, and before this is over, there's another cutscene. There's a parade going on for some reason, and Elliot sees the playhouse. He runs in and sees Clarice, performing to what appears to be an empty house. Huh. Also, I think the Sonic team might have a thing for white gloves that make their characters' hands seem freakishly large. Anyway, they see each other and are transported to the dream world. Okay. Well, that's the end, but let's see if we get anything good for beating both of them. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip past these credits and the bad singing that goes along with them. Welp, it looks like it comes with Christmas nights. Okay, let's talk about Christmas nights for a minute.
Oh, and here's a small surprise I mentioned earlier. Listen.
In a dream I could see you are not far away. Anytime, any place, I can see your face.
The credits theme is actually pretty good when it's sung by a real singer instead of a small child. Anyway, that's it. Let's get back to it.
Essentially, this was a DLC that was released back in December of 1996 and consisted of two reskinned stages and one reskinned boss. That's it. It's the same first stage for both kids, just reskinned. They didn't even bother reskinning a second boss. Now, obviously when I say DLC, I don't mean that literally, but it is essentially the same thing at its core. It's extra content that you had to pay for even though you already owned the core game. And the worst part is that it's totally unnecessary. It changes some textures around and adds a Christmas themed track. While I like the versions of the Christmas songs in this game, this whole game was totally unnecessary and cost $30 in 1996. That's ridiculous! $30 for 3 levels that are essentially the same exact game. I can hardly believe it. I've seen worse Christmas DLCs, but that's no excuse for this kind of visceral marketing behavior.
The last ridiculous part of Christmas nights is that it shows that you totally could have talking in your game. Listen.
And people are looking for presents for their loved ones.
You hear that? She's speaking to us and giving us a story, which means that the developers knew that they could have put a story into the main game. This makes me so angry because this either means that the developers were too lazy to put the story into the main game or they were too ashamed of the story in the first place. It wasn't because of money. This was Sonic Team back when they were at their peak.
The last game published was Ristar,
which I'm not getting into. But before Ristar was Sonic & Knuckles and Sonics 1 through 3. You can imagine that they had a little bit of spending cash after that. There is no excuse for not putting any story into this game. Merry freaking Christmas. Okay, I gotta be honest here. Christmas nights left a bad taste in my mouth. So I guess now I'm gonna have to give this game a score, and on a scale of 1 through 10, I give it a 4.3. The gameplay doesn't really make much sense, but I'll admit that once I knew what was going on, it wasn't so bad. The characters and story are non-existent, but I love the music, otherwise I'd give it a 2. The level design is strange and somewhat confusing, and the camera always seems to be too zoomed in for me to know what's going on at any given time. It's like I need to know what's coming before I even get there. Yes, that's part of 90s gaming because they want kids to play through the game multiple times, but it's a practice that I really don't miss. This game is like Almond Joys. Few people will like it, and most of them are blinded by nostalgia. Okay, maybe that's not entirely a correct analogy. But hey, before you go, would you mind hitting that subscribe and like button down there? If people like this style of video, I'd be happy to do more like it. Leave me a suggestion on a game I should review next time if you do. I'd really like to dissect a game that I'm really into, like Doom, Hellblade, or Persona 5. It's the only JRPG that I've ever completed to my knowledge. I hope I get to see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!